I'd like to welcome everybody to the next lesson on emotional knots that form during our lives, but that we can experience during meditation. And like I say before most lessons, that the purpose of meditation is to place ourselves into a state of calmness in a room where we have no physical needs. And we can use this as a baseline to say that at this point we should be content. And we listen to the discontentment that continues to flow into the mind, and we begin to take a look at these issues and untie them so that we can form contentment at the proper spot. So the way we're going to talk about today is the emotional knots that form from hiding from the past. So really this lesson is similar to the last lesson on holding on to the past, right? In a way, it's kind of an opposite. It doesn't come from being an opposite, but it is like an opposite. So really, hiding from the past comes from having a rough time, right? With something that happened in a rough time in the past instead of a good time. We hold on to the past when we have a good event and we chase it. When we have a bad event, we avoid it, right? So this hiding from the past or having negative past events changes our settings in a way, and it places us on a journey of self-protection. So these are one of the early journeys that we can often take in life, that we're already on a journey. This is why often the mind is not silent when we're trying to meditate, because our meditation is a kind of a stopping of our physical journey, but and our minds are on a mental journey that continues, and this is a journey of self-protection. Very difficult to end if you don't think it through. This journey of self-protection activates the seeking mind, right? But it activates it in a different way. The seeking mind can be the hunting mind or the fearful mind. So I think we talked about this a little bit in the last course, but maybe I should explain a little even further that we have different states in a sense. The peaceful mind is our highest state. It is where we use all of our information equally in a sense, right? We simply find balance through understanding, right? But the seeking mind is different. It is a lower state of mind. And this is a state of mind that most people exist in almost entirely. It comes from seeking something. When we seek something, our balance is no longer all the things we understand. Our balance becomes the thing that we are seeking. And for that reason, the information that we have accumulated over a lifetime, it doesn't change, but how we use it changes, right? We begin to value those things that favor what we're seeking, or that will help us, and those things that hinder us we ignore or downplay, and so we only favor the information that is beneficial at the time, right? So it's not a true balance. It is a balance designed to get something. So the hunting mind really, or the seeking mind, comes from the hunting mind in a way, right? The hunting mind, when it seeks something, goes from an expansive look at the environment to looking at a group of animals, to finally selecting a family of animals, to finally selecting one animal of that group, the weakest of them, to be the meal, right? This is how hunting is done in the wild. So the mind moves from an expansive state to a narrower state, to a narrower state, to a narrow state, right? And we can get stuck in these narrow states, and we forget the reason why we even started searching, right? So that's why we have to keep going back in meditation and re-examining what we're doing. So really, these states of mind, in these states of mind, our beliefs always remain the same. They feel different. But that's because they are weighted differently, and for that reason they appear to conflict with each other. So often when we're in the midst of inner conflict, we have to go back and say, but what do we really believe? What do you really believe? And you'll find that every state of mind that we reach that is in conflict with us believes the same thing. But the weighting is out of whack in a way. It is putting more weight on one aspect of its thinking than another, and that is the result of excessive neediness, right? Excessive neediness has moved it to an imbalanced state. But today we're dealing with the fearful mind, which is very similar. It narrows our understanding as well, right? But think of an animal when it is scared, right? It finds a corner to hide in a sense, somewhere that it can escape if possible. So it narrows our understanding to find safety when scared. We make our world smaller. The real world is larger, but we make our understanding of the world smaller. We stay within that realm to remain safe. This feels safe for a while, right? For quite a while sometimes. But sometimes it will begin to feel cramped and uncomfortable. I guess it's like a cell, right? If you have a cell that's 10 by 10, it's not cramped if you only walk 7 feet each way, right? 7 feet, But if you begin to expand your ways of being, you'll begin to realize that you're actually in a confined area, right? So the reason why we stay in the fearful mind is because we constantly search for danger. Once we have been hurt, we see the possibility for hurt all around us, right? That is the way that the mind works. Because we see the possibility of it existing, we protect ourselves against it. And we're in this state constantly in a lower state of seeking. And we're no longer using our understanding in a balanced way. We're only using the parts that make sense in keeping us safe. And we ignore the parts that may promote growth, for example. For that reason, we stay to ourselves, right? We pull back into a more neutral position. It's safer, right? We don't take chances anymore. This starts to sound pretty familiar. This is how we get when we get hurt. And you can see this in other people, and we can see it in ourselves. And in meditation, we can begin to see this with the mind, right? The mind is an individual in a sense, right? It is us. It is our thinking. And so we need to realize that a fearful mind must be cared for. The danger of living in a fearful mindset is that we can only turn to a passive lifestyle for relaxation, right? We can't turn to anything active because we fear failure, right? So we don't try things. We stay home. No, we'd rather stay home. We'll just watch TV. We'll just relax. And we become the couch potato, right? And really, we have an adventurous spirit, but it's being dampened by our need for safety, right? By our need for safety. In meditation, we run into this energy as insecurity or worry. Again, fear of failure. Pressure to get things right. The need to become intelligent is often really the fear of looking stupid, right? It's a fear that we're acting upon. We just don't want to look silly, so we become intelligent from a simple fear, right? We feel these movements or knots in life as well, right? And for that reason, we begin to give up easily on our life journeys, which begin to hold us back. We are being controlled by fear because this fear is leaving us in the searching mind constantly, and we're not able to use our understanding in the more effective way. We are unable to find the peaceful mind, right? Our balance is no longer our understanding. We begin to favor those understandings that keep us safe and ignore those understandings that open us up, right? So that's what we just talked about, that staying in the fearful mind or the seeking mind limits us. So there must be a solution to this, right? Hopefully. Ultimately, all fear is based on the fear of death. It is an extension of our mortality in a sense, right? Because we're mortal, we feel like we're breakable. Because we're breakable, we have a fear of getting broken. But think about the other way, in a sense. If we were immortal, like if we knew that we were immortal, like one of these superheroes on TV, that couldn't be hurt, Superman, for example. We say, man, that guy, look at, he's so brave. He's not that brave. He can't be hurt, right? It changes everything, that when he has no fear, because he has no danger, he can do a lot more things, right? Without the mind being a problem, right? So we would show care for our lives even if we were in this powerful state, but we would not be overly controlled by the fear of death anymore, right? It would be something that wouldn't make sense to us anymore. Well, that's how the Buddha approached it, not with Superman. But, one of my teachers approached me with an understanding of our mortality with a plant, right? And he said this saying that I've got here, you can barely see it with my face in the way, but he says, a leaf is not a leaf, it is a tree. For that reason, it is full of tree consciousness, awareness that extends into the leaf via the trunk, branch, and twig. So what he was trying to say is that the leaf feels it is conscious in a sense, right? It feels awareness. It's aware of raindrops, of sunshine, all these types of things. But it is not leaf awareness that fulfills it. It is tree awareness, right? The tree is alive, and it pushes its awareness through the branches and twigs into the leaves so that it can experience life as a tree, right? So my teacher then took this little plant and lovingly, pulled a leaf from it. And he gave me the leaf. And he said, is this leaf dead? And I said, yeah, it's dead. You just killed it. What do you do that for? And he said, they're true. He says, there is no consciousness in this leaf any longer, right? But where did the consciousness go? He says, where did it go? Did it die? And then he showed me the plant. He says, no, it's still in the plant, right? He says the plant is alive and extended its awareness into the leaf through the branches and twigs, right? In the same way, he says, we live in a universe that is conscious, right? And we are an extension of the conscious universe. And the universe extends its awareness to us through whatever mechanism to our human state, right? But when we die, when the leaf is pulled from the tree, the awareness merely recedes back to the place where it was before the leaf formed, right? It simply steps back a step to a larger place, just as a branch is larger. I don't know if I say larger, but it is a different part of the tree than the leaf. We are moving to a different perspective than our human perspective. But consciousness is not lost at all. So that was quite a story, and actually it made quite a bit of sense. The Buddha believed that we existed as an extension of the conscious universe as well. He believed a single consciousness extended its awareness to all things. And that's why he cared for all things as if it were the same thing. Because it is the same thing. When we care for something with love, the conscious universe recognizes this and then rewards us by loving us back. It loves all things. But it loves those things that are aware of what it truly is in a different way, in a sense. Just as we would love a dog who's aware of us in a different way than we would love our table, which we feel is not aware of us, right? But the universe still shows love. But this is how we draw the universe's attention, in a sense, right? Is we show active love towards it, and it will respond. So the Buddha moved his mind to an amazingly powerful position. He moved it to the position where he believed that death was no longer a danger to him. End of fear. Fear is based on fear of death. He knew that death was merely an event. that would punctuate his consciousness in a way, but would not end it. Mushrooms to Nirvana. Yeah, this is a story what someone told me, and I think it's true, but I'm pretty sure it's true, was that one day the Buddha had been fed a meal by his monks. And the monks realized that the mushrooms were poisonous. So they come running back to him and said, Buddha, we're sorry, but you've eaten poisonous mushrooms. And they were all concerned. And he says, you know something? It was a delicious meal, and he thanked them very much for it. And he said, by evening I'll be in Nirvana. It was no big deal, right? Because death was not a danger to him. It was simply a vehicle to another form of awareness, right? To another perspective of the same awareness. So we too need to re-examine our beliefs regarding life and death if we wish to escape this life of fear that we have as a human being, right? If death does not exist as an end, then we live in a universe of constant change, not constant endings and beginnings. And it's a change is a form of recycling, the turning of what is old and worn into what is new and young. This is necessary in a way. You can see why this would be a natural balance of things, because the universe is made of stuff. Stuff has gravity. Gravity creates erosion. We wear out. Right? It would be unloving to leave us in a package that forever that would continue to get weaker and weaker till we were immobile, right? Death releases us from that. And if death is not an end, this would be a loving act. These are not things to believe easily, and I'm not asking you to believe them because I'm saying them. But when we do believe them, they do remove fear from our lives. So they are something that we should examine on a serious level during meditation. Even the Buddha used to say, do not do what I say. Do what I say when it makes sense, right? So make sense of it. I remember that when I was struggling with this understanding, I asked my teacher how the Buddha could be so sure. And he did not speak any of the Buddha's words, but he did speak some modern words in a way. And he said that, understand the law of conservation. That matter is not destroyed. It only changes its configuration from one aspect to another, right? That this is how matter works in our universe. He says, consider energy. Energy it cannot be destroyed. It only moves from place to place through changes of amplitude, right? Through changes in frequency. But it will always exist. Has always existed in a sense. And now we worry about our consciousness, right? Consciousness. In a world where matter cannot be destroyed and energy cannot be destroyed, and where we very much think that energy is conscious, how can we really think that consciousness would be thrown away so easily, right? It is likely a misconception based on our minuscule perspective as a human, right? We can't see any further than our own single life, and so we worry as we stare into the dark room, right? But the fact is that it's not scary at all. But we will have to go through the event to be sure. Again, the Buddha's words, do not do what I say, do what I say when it makes sense. We got ahead of myself. But the fearful mind is in a certain mindset in a sense, right? In meditation, this is why we run into the parts of the mind that are stubborn. When it desires something, it doesn't give it up easily. It's because it's on a mission, right? It won't easily be put aside by that, and we should be proud of that fact, right? That's what we're dealing with, loving, powerful energy, right? And fearful energy is the same way. It is on a mission to be safe, and let me tell you, it may not open up to you, even though you are an aspect of itself, right? It will be very, very careful. And we should be proud of that fact. This is us guarding something, right? And we know how loving and how beautiful we are on the inside. That this one is guarding in the same way and should be approached with the same love. Control will not create anything in this aspect. We must show love, patience, to move at the speed that this aspect wishes to move at. That's love. Right? It's force any other way, is it not? Eventually, if we show these qualities, the mind, these thoughts, these knots will begin to loosen up. And once we unravel them, we will have unraveled the secret to the end of fear. Right? To the fear of death. And that will make us much stronger. So, what we think about death really does affect our life, doesn't it? And how we rid ourselves of fear is through the understanding of ourselves. And meditation is the primary method of self-examination, isn't it? So I hope this lesson has had some effect. Certainly gives you something to think about. And we hope that you got something from it. Any questions, please contact us, of course. And namaste. Thanks again.